Okay. Maseches Bava Kama, Daf Kuftes Vav Amud Aleph. We're starting from the third line, the two dots. Shiur l'nishmas Sofi Moira Menachem and Akiva Us Bas Shalom Salvas Moshe. Lefuas es Lefuas Mas Roshana Manka Ulefuas. Everybody else, Besuch Shachol Yisrael. Avraham Yogan. Avram Ben Yudis. Shmuel Avram Ben Yudis. Right. And Salvas Nechama. We saw in the Mishnah a very interesting concept. The Mishnah told us that if a person stole from a ganav, and I want you, before we start, to get the terminology right, because I can already foresee your raised eyebrows. When I say, from now on, when we say a ganav, we don't necessarily mean a ganav, a mean guy who comes to your house in the middle of the night and burglars and gets £1 million. No, that is the first ganav in our story. A ganav here in the sugya could be a guy who innocently bought stolen goods from a ganav, and let's say he didn't know, right? But lamaisa, if he stole from the ganav, it's very nicely, Ellen said yesterday, before Yush of the Bible, then the second guy, from now on, called in the contract, from now on, he'll be called the Sheni, the second guy, is a ganav b'shoigeg, really nice guy. He didn't know, he was strict, but Lamai says a ganav, which means he has a stolen item in his hands that has not been bleached, has not been laundered through the protocol. That's all. So don't ask me, is that a ganav? He's a buyer. I'm just preempting the questions. He's a very nice guy, nothing against him, and all very nice. But Lamaisa, when we call him a ganav, that is a ganav b'shoigeg. He's oichet a ganav, as Balamusa said, an ebech apikoris is also apikoris. He's an ebech, he was raised that way, he was raised reform, but the Maisi is a pikoris. I'm saying the guy's a ganav, so that's not, sometimes he's not a ganav. For example, if there was, it's very nicely, everybody here knew and was really impressed with you, honestly. If there was Yush and Shuni Rashus, right, then according to most opinions, he's not a ganav anymore, because once it's in his hands, then the item is kosher. And then nothing will, we will not retrieve it from his hands. That's very, very general. What did our Mishnah say? I will just repeat the Mishnah outside. What did the Mishnah say? There's a big chiddush in the Mishnah called Takanas HaShuk. Takanas HaShuk means that if the person is an innocent ganav, and the ganav himself, Mr. Rishon, the one who stole it first time and sold it, is not around. I don't know where he is. It's a good question. He died and all his children died and he went to Mexico and he joined. I don't know where he is. It's not relevant. He became irrelevant in this story. He disappeared. Like these, soap stories. He disappeared from the scene. So then what? Then we say, poor Mr. Number 2. We have a takana for him. On one hand, we know that he has a stolen item in his hands. On the other hand, we say if every person that innocently bought from a store in the market, from a seichel, has a chance of his item being taken away from him, rightfully so, back into the hands of the legal owner, the plaintiff, then people will not buy anything anymore. They're going to lose the trust. We want to have a market which is a healthy market. We are Chazal, and we want the market to be healthy and functional. I think that's a better word. We want to have a functional market, functional financial arena where people feel comfortable and trusting each other up to a point to buy stuff, not like I'm buying something today and somebody will come and take it back tomorrow. That's a general picture. Now we will continue. Questions today we have a long and hard Amud. I will welcome questions, but I'm already my eyes get a little bit slanted already. Only technical to the point questions, not if what my grandmother would have. Sorry, I'm sorry to being a little bit Israeli.
Received a stolen article innocently. And the owner comes to claim it back. Does the ganav number 2 say to him, did you say Yush or not?
Oh, no. Wait a second. No, we know there's no Yush. Of course. Wait a minute. No, I was so rushed that I forgot to say main thing. I was wrong. So what do we say because of Takanas HaShuk? What do we say? The guy proved to us that the item is his. The guy meaning the plaintiff. It is my object. The second guy is saying, I innocently bought it. So because of the Takanas HaShuk, we find a healthy middle. What do we say? Mr. Number 2, innocent buyer, shall return the candlesticks that he bought from the store. These are my Alta Bobby's candlesticks. I want them and nothing else but them, yeah? And in return, after he swore and said how much he paid for them 4,000 shekels. I'm the owner, I'm the real owner, the original owner, and I am right. I'll pay him 4,000 shekels. Okay? Now, really, Me'ikra Din, he should give them to me and I don't owe him anything. Because at the end of the day, he's a ganiv. Shoygig shmeigig. I feel bad for you. This is my stuff by you, and there's no use. However, because of the takana, we are, to say it childishly, we're being nice to him, meaning to the current holder, the innocent buyer, and we say, okay, you get compensated 4,000 shekels if you swear that this is what you paid. That's the Mishnah. Ad kan hakofa aleph, 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 and we have this nice chart over here, which is also in the computer. Okay, says the Heilige Gemara, the two dots, we're restarting something and revising something we saw yesterday, because even in that I have new information. Itmar. Itmar means mechlokas amorim. Mechlokas amorim. Ganav umochar, v'achar כך hukar ganav. There was a theft and there was a sale, and then the ganav was recognized, which means in this case, as opposed to the Mishnah, if you know that, you know everything. In the Mishnah, the ganav is just not around, evaporated, went back to Mars. He was a UFO. In the here, we're talking about that the ganav is in front of us. There are three people involved. There's the victim, there's Mr. Rishon, the real nasty ganav, and there's Sheni, who is the innocent buyer. From now on, that's I'm going to call them. Victim, Rishon, and Sheni. Yes? Good? Fine. So now, ganav umocha, v'achar כך hukar ganav. Now the ganav is around. Rav mishmei de Rabbi Chia Omar Adinim Arishon. Rav says on behalf of Rabbi Chia, the claim, the one in the hot seat, the one which Mr. Plaintiff that has Edim was stolen from me. I'm not, of course you're right, Mr. Victim, but you know who should you talk to? Only with the first guy, the Ganev, not with the second guy. The second guy is off the hook. Why we're going to see, but Lemaisa, it makes sense already to us to see now, and as we see in the chart also, that now the owner, can tell, the real owner, the plaintiff can tell Mr. Number Two, Mr. Number Two can tell the owner, listen, the real Ganav is who? He's a Rishon, right? He's the first one. I would actually read Rashi. I would read Rashi here because these two Rashis are like a key to the whole sugya. Look at Rashi Hadinim Arishon, the top of the page. Says Rashi, Hadinim Arishon. Dino shel Baal Habais v'tvioso al Ganavi ve'en lokech Baal Dinoi. The lokech, the second guy, says, I'm not your Baal Din. I'm not part of the story. I'm an innocent thief, innocent buyer. Yeah, even if I am called a thief, but it was not my intention at all. And, excuse me, and you do have who to claim. He did not disappear. The real Ganav is right in front of you. Talk to him directly. Continues Rashi. Let's say Mr. Plaintiff says, victim, whatever you call him, the victim of the story. No. I want my candlesticks. I don't want cash from Mr. Rishon. I want my alta bubis candlesticks, part of my personality, sentimental value. I want those candlesticks that are in his hands, and not the first guy. However, says Rav, we'll see later why, the second guy says, no, I can keep them for whichever reason. Yeah, we'll see 4 reasons why. Don't worry, I'm just saying the words, I'm not the reason. Look at Rashi, important. Then you have to pay money. You want to get it from the second guy? Then you have to pay money. Yeah, in other words, those candlesticks are worth 6,000 shekels. You pay 6,000 shekels to the second guy. You may say, Rav is like the Mishnah, right? It's not so simple. Yeah, okay. In other words, we also see this exchange between the victim and number two. You give me the candlesticks to get the money. Possibly it's the same as the Mishnah, possibly not. It's just a fact. I'm only saying facts now. In the chart, we're in the very top now. If you want to follow the chart, we are before Rav Yosef Abaye or anybody else spoke. We are in the top. The buyer is exempt. The buyer is not part of the story. That's the top checker with the top field with Rav. Only the first one is liable. The buyer is exempt. Yeah, you want to retrieve it from the second guy? Pay, because the second guy is not part of the story at all. He's not chayv. Yeah, it continues Rashi. The afagav shukar ganav, even though the ganav is around, lo mina nichzil lokecha kelim bechinam ve'ipora mina ganav. Oh, what we don't say, hey, give me the candlesticks for free. I have to pay you. What? Give me back the candlesticks. You want your 4,000? Get it from the Ganav, not from me. That's what Rav says. Only the Rishon is at fault. The Rishon will have to pay always, and if you want to get from the second guy, then you will have to pay the second guy. Otherwise, the second guy can say, go to the Ganav. The real Ganav is in the hot seat. That's what Rav says. These are just the facts before we understand anything. Now comes, I'm continuing in the Gemara. I'm in the Gemara now. Rabbi Yochanan, the only one arguing clearly on Rav is Rabbi Yochanan. Bishmed Rabbi Yanai Omar. Rabbi Yochanan on the behalf of Rabbi Yanai says, Adinim Hasheni. Adinim Hasheni doesn't mean he's right. You mean you can claim from the Sheni. Adinim Hasheni. In other words, I'll approach the second one and tell him, you bought it, innocent shminnocent. The candlesticks are by you. Now you tell me innocent, so. Excuse me, I'll have to give you the 6,000 shekels? What, excuse me, the chutzpah? The Ganav is here. The Ganav, which we both hate, we were both victims of Mr. Rishon, right? He stole from me and sold you. Give me the candlesticks of my Alta Bube, and what? And you want the money? Bevakasha, get it from the Ganav, not from me. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. As opposed to the Mishnah, where what can you do? The Ganav is not around. We have to deal with the dust he left behind. Here, the first guy is around. You, Mr. Sheni, you're at fault. Give me the candlesticks because you're holding them now. You want to retrieve Shmetiv, get money, you're innocent, you're shminnocent? I agree with you. Go to the Ganav, to Mr. Rishon, and deal with him. These are, I prefer no questions now whatsoever, because these are just words of Rav versus Rabbi Yochanan. You can see it in English in the two top parts of the chart before we have 4 explanations to each opinion. Okay, so I imagine anything you want to say was probably thought by the Ameroim. What's the problem? Phone? No, I said yesterday no phones, and actually people told me they left the phones at home. So I'm very happy. The phones was we had the message yesterday. Phones shall be off, and they are off. Now let's start the 4 different opinions. Okay, very nice. Rabbi Yosef. Opinion number 1 is Rabbi Yosef. He's coming to explain the difference between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yosef. Loi pligi. Rabbi Yosef says, you think they argue? They don't argue. Everybody loves each other. There's world peace between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. They both believe the same thing. Elamai, they just spoke in different realities. And now everybody remembers Rav Chisda, which we mentioned yesterday. You can look at Rav Yosef, the first checker of Rav Yosef. What does Rav Yosef believe? Everybody believes that the concept of Rav Chisda, what did Rav Chisda say? Rav Chisda said that if Ganav number 1 stole from someone, and before Yush, Ganav number 2 stole from Ganav number 1, the second Ganav is as bad, excuse the childish term, as bad, as liable as everything like the first one. Because as long as there's no Yush, then my object, and I'm the victim, is in the hands of the first Ganav, it's still by me, because it's Yush. So it's as if Mr. Number 2 stole it from me. So I can go to, as Alan very nicely remembered, I can take half from each, or I can go to the first one, or to the second one. I can go to wherever I want. Because Lamaisa, the theft was from the first and second are both as liable, as equally bad. I can retrieve my goods from either the first one, the cash, or the second one, I can retrieve what? The actual item. I'll do whatever I want. Everyone believes that. So what's Pshat in the Machloikes? Back to the Gemara. Very nice. Loi pligi. Kan lifnei yush. If there was no yush yet, when it got to the hands of the second Ganav got it before yush, then who can I approach if I want? Obviously, Adin Imasheni. By the way, if you noticed in the chart I wrote, and I meant what I wrote, the chart, I tried to be very medaic, also the Sheni. Of course, the first one is not off the hook according to Rabbi Yochanan, I can either approach the first one or the second one. And here, there's no Takanas HaShuk. No, excuse me, you are Pashut Eganav, Mr. Number 2. Shoygig, Shmaygig, Shoygig, tell your mother you're Shoygig. Lamaisa, like we said before, very simple. You stole it from me, not knowingly, but you did steal it from me because you got it from the first guy legally, wasn't really legal, before you. You owe me the money, mister. You want to get compensation? Speak to the God. He should compensate you. He's right here in front of us in court. That's Rabbi Yochanan. And Rav spoke about a different reality, a different story, a different case. You know why Rav said that the poor little second guy is off the hook, sweetie boy? Because he stole it. Meaning, if there was a yush by the hands of the Rishon, everybody here knows what I call the Merube protocol, which we learned in Merube many times. Yush plus Shinei Reshus equals the second guy has it absolutely free, absolutely fine. You have Tanis about the thief. Oh, you should. That's the first guy. Approach him and not me. So that's when the Ganav was recognized. The Mishnah, nobody argues on the Mishnah. Everybody's okay with the Mishnah. The Mishnah spoke about a different story. What did the Mishnah say? When the Ganav is not recognized. When the Ganav is not recognized, poor innocent guy, you take his candlesticks, which he bought for his wife's birthday for 6,000 shekels, plus what? There's nobody else to turn to. Then you, the victim, you should compensate him because of Takanas HaShuk. But here, when the Ganav is here, go to the Ganav, not to me. What do he want from my life? Says who? Says everybody, really. Both Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. They're just talking different realities. That's all. The Talvayu Islo de Rav Chizda is a crescendo. Both Rav and Rabbi Yochanan are not arguing about anything. They both believe in Rav Chizda's concept. What did Rav Chizda say? You stole before Yush, then you, the second guy, you're chayiv. Adkan, beautiful, very nice, Rav Yosef. That's number one. They're not even arguing according to Rav Yosef. That's his unique. Each one of the four has some unique point. Rav Yosef wants to make peace between everybody. Everybody believes Rav Chizda. The shaila is, when was it stolen? If it was stolen the Achayush, everyone agrees that Achayush, I bought it not just innocently, Shinei Reshus, and it was a nice guy. I didn't know it was stolen. There was Yush, Shinei Reshus, it's mine. Those candlesticks are absolutely mine. You want to get them back from me? No, I won't give it to you. And even if yes, then what? Then, and obviously the only din was the Rishon. Yeah, that's it. Or you want them from me? Pay me. Pay me because they're mine. Not because Takanas HaShuk. Pay me because they're mine. Yeah, because you should Shinei Reshus. Ad kan kofa aleph Rav Yosef. Amar la Abaye. Abaye is opinion number 2, as you can see in the chart. Amar la Abaye. We're going now to see Abaye, and before Abaye starts talking, yeah, Abaye says that there is an argument between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. You can see it in the chart. It's in more or less English. Abaye says the Gufa argue whether Rav Chizda was right or wrong. Meaning, one opinion here believes that even if you stole it before Yush, and then there was Shinei Reshus before Yush, you're koine. Wow. The second guy is not a Ganav. The second guy is not called a Ganav because he didn't really take it from your house. He took it from the Ganav's house. He does believe Rav Chizda's concept that the Ganav's house before Yush is like an embassy of the victim. He says, no, it's a different house. It's a different place. It's not really owned by you. And Taisa says a very strong point in Daf Kufal. Taisa says, I'll ask you a question. When something is stolen from you, you have no idea where it is, right? But you're not miyash. You're searching for it like for a missing child. Yeah? Then what? The Maisa, it's not with you. Can you be makdish to Beis Hamikdash if the item is stolen from you and you have no idea where it is? No. Ish Yakdish is based on a base of Kol B'Shus. So no, you can't. So it's not really owned by you. So somebody here, and his name is Rav, according to Abaye, look at Rav. The buyer bought before Yush, and yet he's exempt. That's what Rav, the checker of Rav / Abaye, when he crossed Rav and Abaye, that's what Abaye thought Rav is saying. That even though there was no Yush yet, then before Yush got it, then he's not called a Ganav. And therefore, the din is only with the Rishon, and the buyer, the second guy, is exempt. Wow. That's what Abaye says according to Rav. And Rabbi Yochanan, no, Rabbi Yochanan remains the same as before. Rabbi Yochanan is conservative. He believes, Rav Chizda, that if the item was bought before Yush, then no, then he's not liable. Excuse me, before Yush, he's liable. He got it before Yush, he got it too early. Before Yush, it came to your hands, you're Ganav just like the first one. And I'll take you to Beis Din, you the buyer, you're liable. And I'm not going to compensate you. Compensation go to the Ganav, not to me. Rav Yochanan said the same. Rav changed his mind, so to speak, according to Abaye. Didn't change his mind. Abaye explains Rav differently. Now let's see how Abaye got to it from the Gemara, and I'll accept questions after we finish with Abaye, okay? Middle of the road. After 2 opinions before the other 2, if you want their question. Amar Abaye. Veloy pligi, are you sure that they don't argue, Abaye and Rav Yosef? Excuse me. Are you sure Rav Yosef that Abaye and Rav Yochanan don't argue? Is that so? I'll prove you wrong. Listen to the following story. A matnas kehuna we learned are 24. But you know which one of the 24 are called matanos? Like New York, right? There are many places in New York State. Yeah, Albany, whatever, Catskills, yeah. Textile, they wrote in the Hebrew magazine, textile, instead of Catskills, very funny. Yeah, New York. Matnas Kehuna of Matnas Kehuna is what? The Zohar L'chaim V'Keva. The thing over here, the cheeks and the tongue and the forearm and the kishke, they go to a kohen, and they're supposed to go to a kohen. Okay, all very nice. Matnas Kehuna kelifnei yeush dami upligi. What does that mean? Let's say a kohen knows that there's a butcher in town, Me'ikar din, the butcher who cuts the meat and weighs the meat and sells the meat. He's the one who has the chiyuv. The chiyuv falls upon him to give matnas tuna to the kohen. He's a firm guy. He's a good guy, the butcher, not some kind of schwindler. The kohen round the corner is never miyash from getting the matnas tuna from the kohen. We're not talking here about ganovim exactly, but semi-ganovim, white-collar ganovim. Let's say there's a butcher who plays games and did not yet give his matnas kehuna to the kohen. Conceptually, the kohen is never miyash because the kohen always knows here's a butcher who lives over here, and he also knows he owes me the Zohar L'chaim V'Keva. Nobody can deny that, right? So a kohen who did not yet get his meat matanas, his meaty matanas, Zohar L'chaim V'Keva, is not yet miyash. So listen to what it says, Ditnan, and yet we see machlokes between Rav and others. Ditnan. Soon we'll understand the comparison. I know it sounds nebulous. Soon we'll get the comparison better. Listen to the Mishnah at the end in Chulin, and then we'll get everything very nicely compared over here. Amar Loi, says a customer. Mr. Customer entered the butcher shop. Amar Loi. By the way, this applies also in Chutz La'aretz. So applies also in Chul. So the shop is in Wisconsin, of course. Amar Loi mecharli me'ehel shel poro. He told him. Who told who? The customer told the butcher, sell me the ganze kishke of the behema, all the kishkes together. Now the matanos kehuna are not all the kishkes. It's one part of the keva. There's some fancy English name which Chavrusa told me. I don't know. I never knew yet. Part of the keva is the matanos. So let's say the buyer is buying the entire story, all the kishkes of the behema, all the intestines, all the innards, including the matnas kehuna, and he goes home. Now, who carried the chiyuv with him? Who has to give the matanos now? Customer. Yeah, he went home. Okay. Nois than the kohen. Now the customer gives the matanos to Mr. Kohen. The einu menakelo minadomim. Now the customer may say can the customer go back to the butcher and say, hey, Mr. Butcher, I paid you $200 for all the kishkes, and really I have to give $50 worth to the Kohen. Give me back $50. We say, no, you can't take it back from the butcher. Why? Because when you bought it, you bought the whole thing. You didn't buy the net of it. You bought the gross amount. What? Very good. You buy as is. Of course, you have the chiyuv to what? To give the matanos from you. Nobody thought otherwise. Didn't you know about Zohar L'chaim V'Keva? In other words, I did not weigh each gram by itself. I gave you the wholesale thing, all the kishkes together. You know, like sometimes make a sale, whatever is in the house, whatever is in the drawer, whatever is here, sell you. Obviously, didn't you know? You didn't go to Cheder, you didn't go to Amud Yomi. You don't know that you have to give Zohar L'chaim V'Keva. Don't come back to me. However, comes the punchline here. Here comes fun. Look with the last narrow line. Ooh, let's say he took the mishkal. You know, there's mishkal like today, right? When you buy in the store, many times things that have to be weighed. There is the global thing for kilogram, which is 100 shekels, and you bought 10 grams, and you have to pay less. Yeah. In other words, he weighed each and every organ of the behema, 50 grams, $5. 50 grams, $5. Oh, and you left the store. Then noisna lakoyen. Now the buyer, the customer, has to give the kohen the Zohar L'chaim V'Keva because he has to. That's not money. That's yoredeya. That's ben adam l'chaver. Matnas kuna. Umenakelo min adomim. Now he can angrily, or not angrily, maybe nicely, he can go back to the butcher and say, "Excuse me, I did not buy something global as is. I paid you per gram, per ounce, per whatever you want to call it. I paid you per every little thing, and including, so I really did pay you for those Zohar L'chaim V'Keva specifically, right, in a very clear, right, precise way. So obviously, I paid you $50 that you very well knew I have to eventually give to Mr. Cohen. Give me back $50. I gave the Cohen, and he's right. the customer is not always right. In this case, the customer is right. So far, so good. So far, nobody spoke about Rav or Rabbi Yochanan. Oh, here comes the real punchline. The Omar Rav says Rav, that Rav makes a huge, I would say, qualification over here. Omar Rav, Lo shonu, this is only true, ela sheshokal le'atzmoi, which means Lu Yitzuyar, that he himself weighed all the meat. If he weighed the meat for himself, the customer, then it's as if the customer stole it. I'm not sure why, but weighing it shows this is a very detrimental part of the mechira, is weighing, and because weighing shows I'm buying this and not buying that. Now, of course, mechira is agbo. I also know mechira is agbo. Yeah, the shkila, putting it on the weight shows, that this I'm buying, while the other thing I'm not buying. It's selective. Sometimes you have a lot of things on the counter and you regret the last minute. Oh, no, I'm putting this on the side. I'm not weighing it. So if shokal le'atzmoi, if the customer, shokal le'atzmoi, right, then we say, then he's right, the customer is right. Then adin imoi, then he has to pay. Then he has to give the matonos to the kohen. He's the thief from the kohen. Somebody here is stealing from the thief. Yes, it's a theft. In other words, everything nice, white collar and black kippah, the nice kosher butcher just opened a new store in Wisconsin. But lamaisa, if this leaves the store, a detrimental point is the weighing, putting on the weights, somebody here is taking it from the kohen. And his name is Mr. Buyer. He's going home, he'll have to give it to the original owner, who's a kohen, really. So now, when is it that the kohen goes to who? To the buyer and says, hey, Mr. Buyer, you owe me. In other words, let me just explain. Both scenarios are very easy. One common denominator between both scenarios is who owes him the zolach and keva, who owes him the keva? The customer, right? The kohen can knock on the door of the customer. The kohen followed them. The kohen saw everything. They don't know. He's following with his binoculars. He had the big newspaper in front of his, he's a detective. Then he saw that what? That really, zolach and keva were stolen from him to the house of the buyer. He goes to the buyer only if the buyer committed the theft by weighing it. Then he's the ganav and he owes it personally to the kohen. Aval, shokaloi hatabach. But if the tabach is the one who put it on the weighs, if the shakel is the one who put it on the scale, hadini matabach. Then you go to the first guy, the tabach. What's going on over here? The tabach is like the ganav rishon, because he's willing to steal and give over, and the ganav sheni is the customer. That, in a way, is similar to our story, rabbis. We have a kohen who is a potential customer right from the start. And there's all theft process to take what he deserves from under his feet, And there are two ganavim here, Mr. Nice Butcher, Mr. Nice Client. And what did he say? Hadini matabach. If the tabach is the one who actually stole it, so to speak, by putting it on the weights and deciding that will go forwards and not to the kohen, then we say you go to the tabach and claim it from him. Wait a second, let's make a cheshbon. The kohen is never miyash. The kohen knows halacha is on his side. Every beis din will be on his side that he deserves halacha and bekeva. The Torah never changes, and yet what do we see? That we claim against the tabach, against the first guy, and not the second guy. Ooh, so we see that a second guy before Yush is off the hook. Woohoo! That's exactly Abaye. That's actually Abaye's source. Get it? In other words, Abaye says, look what's going on over here. We have a second guy who got it before Yush, and yet he's off the hook. And the Zolach and Bekev are actually in his possession right now, and he can tell the Quran, I did not sell it, didn't actually do the theft. I got it from a thief, and I'm second guy, even though I'm Yush, I don't care. So that's exactly what Abaye claims, Rabbi is saying. And he wants to say that that's a source, and soon I'll be able to hear your questions too. Answers the Gemara, this is nice what Abaye says, not for me to say. However, Abaye does not have it proven from the Mishnah and Chulin. Nobody says Abaye is wrong. Don't prove it from Chulin, from the story of the butcher and the Zorach HaMekeva. You know why? Af dini matabach. Oh, what Rav did not mean exclusively. It's only on the tabach who's the Ganav Rishon, and the Ganav Sheni is completely exempt off the news. No, also the tabach, which means what? Both first and second people, because there was no yush, obviously. Also the first, and so to the second, like Rav Chizda said, rotzom izeh goyve, rotzom izeh goyve. That's classical Rav Chizda. which really Rav believes in. En chinami. That's what we could say. So what's the chiddush of the Mishnah? Mao de tema ein matnas kuna nigzolois. Oh, what's the chiddush of the Sol Mishnah if you don't say like the juicy chiddush of Abaye? You know what's the chiddush? I would have said matnas kuna can never be stolen. What does that mean? I would have said like this. Matnas kehuna, one would claim like this. Even though the first ganav is the butcher who sold it to Reuven and he sold it forwards to Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and Elizabeth. Matnas kehuna, because the Torah said that the Kohen is the legal halachic forever owner, got the matnas kuna. You know who gave the matnas kuna to the Kohen? Who? Kadosh Baruch Hu. What do they say about the ger? The ger is Yerusha. Hashem gives the matnas kehuna to the Kohen. Havamina would be that he would always go to the butcher. You know why? Because the fact that the matnas kehuna are in different places is irrelevant. There were kilo never taken from him. Mimela, all he can do is go to the butcher, the first guy. I'll go to you as the first guy because the chiyuv fell on you. You can't never run away from the chiyuv by selling it forwards because it was kilo never taken. Remember my example that when it's stolen, it's like still by the embassy of the first guy. Here we could say it much more. We could say it much more by the Kohen and say no, and say that it's always remaining in the hands of the Kohen, and therefore always the butcher will give. The fact that it's technically, geographically, these are just gashmias, chitzonius, it's not real that it's in the hands of Reuben, Shimon, Levi, all the customers. Kamash Malan, we don't say that. Kamash Malan, yes, there is theft in matnas kehuna, and now we have to put the focus on the thief, either the moicher, the butcher, or the buyer. That, by the way, is a side point for our sugya, because we rejected it. However, we rejected the proof for Abaye. We did not reject Abaye, we rejected the proof of Abaye. Now the Gemara is saying Abaye, and then I'll let you talk a little bit. You'll have some off North Korea time. ONK time, off North Korea. That's a new thing. Soon ONK time, off North Korea, out of North Korea. Well, Abaye domer pligi b'may. According to Abaye, who is the poster of Yosef, says that they argued. What's the argument? As I told you, with Rav Chizda, punkt, 2 words, Rav Chizda. Let's read it in nice English. According to Abaye, they're arguing. I'm in the chart. The buyer bought before Yush, according to Rav, and yet he's exempt. Why? Rav is more mekel, more lenient with a person who stole, innocently or not, from the first ganav, even though there was no yush. I did not steal it straight from you. I stole it from someone else's house, from someone else's control. You couldn't be makdish at that point. I didn't steal it straight from you, and therefore, I'm off the hook now and go to the first guy. The first guy, he'll give you. I want the candlesticks is what you want. Then pay me back, and I'll give you the candlesticks. And then deal with the ganav. You feel we are cheated? Okay, later on you can talk to the ganav also. But the etzem, the second guy, is potter because he does not believe in Rav Chisda's concept that the guy who stole before you is chayiv. No, he's potter. Rabbi Yochanan is classical Rav Chisda. Rabbi Yochanan Checker is same good old story. I'm reading it in English. In Rabbi Yochanan's case, but it's not a spelling mistake. I write Rabbi Yochanan on purpose without double B. It's not Rabbi Yochanan, it's Rabbi Yochanan, yeah. And Kohanim are not priests, yeah. In Rabbi Yochanan's case, the buyer bought before Yush, and he's as liable as the thief. Like we always said, he got it before Yush, bad guy. Oh, what about the Mishnah's case? How would they both explain the Mishnah's case? No, that's all different story. In the Mishnah, there was before Yush. The buyer is liable, enochinami, before Yush, according to Rabbi Yochanan, but that's Takanas HaShuk. That's according to Rabbi Yochanan, right? That's Takanas HaShuk. The Mishnah says because the Ganav guy, is not around, then everybody agrees we're being more lenient with Misken, the innocent guy, who has nobody to turn to, right? Now, according to Rav, though, we don't have to come on to that. According to Rav, is anyhow exempt. I should really fix the chart because the Mishnah, according to Rav, Enochinami, is not because of Takanas HaShuk. He's really not, he's exempt b'chlal. We don't have to make a new establishment in a new Takana. He stole before Yush, he's potter. According to Rabbi Yochanan, he's only potter when there's somebody else to turn to. Because there's nobody else to turn to, then we make the Takanas HaShuk. That's the Mishnah according to Abaye. So we are halfway through. But even after we finish 4 opinions, we still have a lot of discussions. The hard part is the chart. Afterwards, there will be discussions about the Takanas HaShuk, which will be much easier. Okay? So after the roller coaster, we're going to go to some nice merry-go-round. Okay? A short time for questions. Hot water. Thank you. No, sorry. I'm listening. You said after Takanas HaShuk? Weiter. Okay, Rav Zvid Omar. Rav Zvid is in the fourth wide line. Chisda, and then Rav Zvid. Rav Zvid Omar. Now listen to this. When I saw this, I fell off the chair, almost fainted, almost. Kigon shenisashlu abaylim biyad lokeach. You hear this? In other words, when the yush took place, we could prove with Eidin. After the purchase of the candlesticks and the hands of Mr. Buyer, then there was yush, meaning wrong way around. There was Shiur Reshus and then yush. So since every time I knew that doesn't work, listen to this. They were not miyash in the hands of the Ganev. It was basically, we put the cart before the horses. What happened here? There was first change of hands, Shiur Reshus, and then Mr. Victim was miyash. Beho pligi, that's what they argue about. Woo! The classical opinion, soon you'll see who. Yush, followed by Shiur Reshus, that's koina. Shiur Reshus v'acher yush, you change it around. Shiur Reshus and then yush, loikani. That doesn't work. And therefore the second guy, if he got it the wrong way around, it's simply not his. You were not koina. He did not go through the washing machine, through the bleaching, through the laundering of the regular protocol. You got it the wrong way around. Yeah? A very silly example. I'll tell you maybe later. Sometimes do things the wrong way around. They don't work. Yeah? We tried something in the kitchen, in the shake with the blender. You put the ingredients the wrong way around. It didn't work, even in the blender. So here too, the wrong way around doesn't work. Says who? Says who? Rabbi Yochanan. Excuse me. Therefore says Rabbi Yochanan, you Mr. Second guy? Hey, mister, it's not yours. It's just simply not yours. Give it to me. And you talk about Takanas HaShuk? Not Takanas HaShuk when the bad guy is back from Acapulco and we know who he is right now during the court case. Go to him. Classical. Rav made a tremendous chiddush. Tremendous. Umar Sova lo yishno. Wow. 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 Says Rav, according to Rav Zvid, the order does not matter. Lo yishno, lo meshaneh haseder. Doesn't make a difference the order. Yeah, I told you the joke many times. I want to repeat. Yeah. In the Israeli chasana, they ask the guy, "Yeah, what do you want, chicken or schnitzel?" The order doesn't make a difference. Lo meshaneh haseder. The kids are lo yishno doesn't make a difference the order, even though there was shinui reshus before yush, it works, and therefore, who's the owner? Mr. Second guy. Says Rashi up to the point they won't have to give it at all. It's his. The candlesticks are halachically legally mine, and therefore I'll keep them. You want them back from me? 6,000, if not more. Yeah, that is clearly according to Rav Zvid, and that's a whopping chiddush. But that's what Rav Zvid believes in. Okay, I don't have time to philosophize more about it, but that's chat. That's how Rav Zvid learns. What happened in the Mishnah? Mishnah. Mazik Kashur. In the Mishnah, what was the story? Look at the checker. The Mishnah's case according to Rav Zvid. The Mishnah's case according to Rav Zvid, you see the word whatsoever in bold? It was on purpose. There was no yush whatsoever ever. Since there was no yush in the Mishnah bechlal, there was no yush bechlal. And not at all, not at any point. Meaning when he, the owner, approaches Mr. Buyer, panting and running after the buyer, he's not miyash. I was never miyash, and I have proof for it. I had notices all over time. I want these candlesticks all the time. Therefore, everyone would agree, obviously, that in such a case, Mr. Second guy, the buyer, is not an owner. So why are you being nice to him? Not so nice. You're not the owner. You mechuyev to give him the candlesticks back. Takanas HaShuk, we say you're being compensated in order to keep a healthy market. That's the Mishnah. Okay? Weiter, thank you. Rav Papa. Last but not least is Rav Papa. Rav Papa changes everything around. Rav Papa Omar. Beglima, the kula alma lo pligi dehoda lemori. Everyone agrees, meaning both Rav and Rabbi Yochanan agree that the actual glima, the item, glima means a robe, lo mishaneh. The item, everyone agrees, goes to the owner. To who? To the original owner from the second guy. He learns Rav and Rabbi Yochanan to say exactly the opposite. Everyone agrees that the item, the candlesticks we call them, no question go to the first, to the owner, and the second guy cannot say no. So what's the machloikas? The question is, who does the second guy approach? Hadinim Arishon and Dinim Sheni means like that. Do we say that the second guy, the buyer, My candlesticks are, I lost my candlesticks. Do we say, Mister, here's a ganav, deal with him. Don't cry to me. I'm the owner. You have a ganav, deal with him. You bought from him. Yeah, maybe it's not America, it's Israel, but still go back to the shop and say this was stolen, right? But the other opinion says, no, even if there's a ganav, we still apply Takanas HaShuk. Wow. And still say that the one that has to pay is the real guy who, the owner, he'll have to pay the customer who lost. Obviously, Baruch, I believe that eventually he'll also claim from the ganav back. But the Takanas HaShuk remains that if you got a stolen goods from the customer, you, the real owner, you have to compensate him back. Let's read it inside. Hey, the halacha over here, but also but the Takanas HaShuk hamiflagi. They argue whether or not, in the case of the ganav there in front of our eyes, alive and kicking, do we still say Takanas HaShuk and compensation has to come from the real owner? Yes or no? That's simple. It's that simple. What would they both say about the Mishnah? Easy peasy. Avada, in the Mishnah, everyone agrees Takanas HaShuk. Ganav is not there. The Ganav is now sunbathing in I don't know where for the next 10 years before Gehenim. Rav, I'm continuing. How would Rav Papa explain it? Rav Mishmed Rabchia Omar Hadinim Arishon. Hadinim Arishon, you know what does mean Hadinim Arishon? Dina Delokeach, the buyer who's now, the candlesticks were taken away from him, Dilishko Zuzim Ganav. You have any problems, mister? You bought from this Ganav, talk to the Ganav. Yeah? Lots of the Takanas HaShuk. No reason for the Takanas HaShuk over here, says Rav. Only when the guy's not around. The Ganav is around, don't come to me. Speak to him. So Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Yanai Amar, Adinim Hasheni. You know what he means when he said Adinim Hasheni? It means Dina de Lokeach, the buyer who has the candlesticks away from him and is crying his eyes out. The Lishko Mibala Bais, the also but the Takanas HaShuk. Wow. He believes that the Takanas HaShuk applies when, even when the Ganav is there, we say to the original guy, you have to give back the money to the innocent person who you took the candlesticks from. Of course, now comes the second court case, you versus the Ganav. That's a separate Maisa. The Takanas HaShuk prevails. The Takanas HaShuk always exists, and these are the four opinions. Bershuscha Rabba, please be nice to me and allow me to continue. Weiter. 10 minutes. Frag the Gemara. So you can chazer it with the chart, right? The chart is there. I'll email it to you even a nicer version, okay? And you can chazer and review everything. The Savarav, frag the Gemara. The Savarav lo also but the Takanas HaShuk. By the way, from now on, I want to calm you down. We do not have to remember all different four opinions. In other words, it's not like now you have to have it in your mind. I mean, you have to have it in your mechuyev to Torah, but saying, in order to understand the Gemara from now on, we don't have to have, all 8 different variations here exactly. We're talking now in general about the Takanas HaShuk, okay? So that will make you happier. Are you sure of Papa? We're taking Rav Papa. Are you sure that according to Rav, there's no Takanas HaShuk? Listen to the following story. Story time. The Rav Huna, Talmid de Rav Hava. Rav Huna was a disciple of Rav. And as such, we assume Rav Huna follows the Hanhagos and halachos of Rav. And listen to the following story, which does not fit your description. The Hanan Bisha, Hanan the bad guy. There was a man called Hanan the bad guy. We met him in Daf Lamed Zayin. He smacked someone in the face twice. Hanan Bisha, gun of Glima. Hanan Bisha, unsurprisingly, stole a robe, a cloak, and the Zabna, and he sold it onward. So far, no surprises. Also, Kamed Rav Huna. Then people, the plaintiffs, the litigants came to Rav Huna, who's a disciple of Rav. What's going on? What are we going to do now? Amar lelahu Gavra. He told the man, meaning the real owner, the victim, who's the real owner, Zil Shari Avitech, go take back the glima, but paying back, it's like an avot. Avot with an ayin and tes means like a collateral. It's only like a collateral, which means you pay back. Take back the nice cloak that Hanan Bisha stole from you. Yes, you may take it from who? From Mr. Innocent Buyer, but quickly pay him back the 6,000 shekels that the cloak is worth. And Hanan Bisha was there watching it. Hanan Bisha was there. He's around. Maybe he's not right there, as we'll see, but he's in his shop, smoking his cigarettes and looking at his things, yeah? Oh, so you see Rav and his disciples believe that the Takanas HaShuk does apply even when Ganav is there, exactly against Rav Papa, right? Takanas HaShuk is alive and kicking, even though the thief is around there. And says Gemara, no. Don't ask me for Hanan Bisha. He's the Gemara's worst boy. Shiny Hanan Bisha is different. Hanan Bisha is different. You can never get your money back from him. It's an Israeli store in the 70s. You couldn't get money back from the Israeli store as a child, but hook or crook, yeah? Even if you prove themselves wrong, no such thing. You can't get money from Hanan Bisha. Therefore, Kiloi Hooker Dami. It's as if the Ganav is not there, is irrelevant. Because Hanan Bisha is such a bad guy, he would not listen to Beis Din. He would not listen to anybody. He's a mafioso, he's a killer. I don't know what he is. He's just not around. He's nobody to talk to. Talk to the walls, as they say. Mimela, we say it's Ke'il is not around. And that's why Rav Huna and Rav would say Takanas HaShuk. But if Hanan Bisha would be Hanan Shapira, nice guy who may be a thief, but he can quickly Mesader give you back the goods, then we don't say Takanas HaShuk. Go get it back from the store. Omar Rove. Now comes Rava with a qualification, with a tzimtzum of what we just said. Im Ganav Mefursam hu lo yosu b'Takanas HaShuk. Let's say the sign on the store says, we steal stuff and sell it onwards. Yeah? There's this new trend, stolen stuff.co.il. This is a stolen good shop, yeah? So then, as a Ganav Mefursam, you're not innocent. Don't come to me, yeah, about the candlesticks. I didn't give it back to what? Everybody knows that, Cookie Pookie over there is a Ganav. So not an innocent buyer. There's no Takanas HaShuk. No Takanas HaShuk. Give him back the candlesticks. And if you want 6,000 shekels, I hope you win the lottery or go to the famous Ganav, infamous Ganav. Okay, but he's a famous guy. He's a well-known Ganav that was an innocent purchase. So don't come to me now with crying to me you're innocent. Frag the Gemara. The Hanan Bisha the Mefursam have goes to the Takanas HaShuk. Hanan Bisha was known to be a bad guy. So don't you assume that he's a thief? And yet we say that there is Takanas HaShuk, right? Because the fact he's violent and won't give you back, that's one thing. But why is it Takanas HaShuk to begin with? Why are you so stupid? Buy goods from Hanan Bisha. Don't you know he's a thief? You're coming now crying to me that I have to compensate for your nonsense? Hanan Bisha is a known Ganav. And says the Gemara, no. There's bad and there's bad. Nehidim Mefursam Lebishusa, although he's not famous, he's well known to be a bad guy, Lignevu Salom Mefursam. The fact that he's a Ganav, that's not well known. He's known to be violent. He's known to be a bad man. No good shalom bayis. His kids are all, I don't know what's going on with them. But he's not known to be a Ganav. The fact he's a Ganav, that's new. Since it was a new fact, a newly found fact that he's a Ganav, the innocent was really innocent, the buyer, and therefore there's the Takanas HaShuk. Itmar. We're in a very, where we are now, which country we're in now. Itmar. Gonav upora b'choivoy. Now comes a whole new load of cases that are not exactly purely defined as a purchase. What happens if somebody stole, and Misken, he's so deep in debt, you know what he did? He stole the candlesticks from someone, Mr. Someone, and now, you know how much money he owes the Gmach? You guessed right. Misken, he was really strapped for cash, has nothing to eat, I don't know what. He owes 6,000 shekels to the Gmach, and he comes the morning after 30 days, and he says, I'm paying on time with candlesticks that I bought, that I had in my house, heirloom, and really those candlesticks were stolen. Ganav upar b'choivoy, ganav upar b'hekefoy. Hekefoy is the same story, but to the makolet. Hekefoy is like an Israeli makolet. Sometimes people can write down the name and owe the money, give the money back later. Yeah, in other words, it takes a few provisions. What? An account. Thank you. Right, that's the word. They can buy an account, right? Ganav upar b'hekefoy. Loy also but Takanas HaShuk. No Takanas HaShuk there. Listen to the scenario. The story blew up. Boom. The bubble blew. What happened now? Who's facing who? Now the Gmach people are facing the real owner. They got candlesticks. The malve, the malve, right? The lender, right? Now has candlesticks they got back in his choiv. And now comes Mr. Somebody says, the candlesticks are mine. There's not Takanas HaShuk. The real owner does not have to pay the lender who got back in the loan, doesn't have to give him 6,000 shekels worth of the candlesticks. Why? Says the Gemara, the Amri, we say, Loy adaita dehanu yahavislei midi, which means when you gave him the money, you expected money. In other words, the Takanas HaShuk is only, to very Balabatishly generally, We don't want to disturb the regular flow of the market against people's expectations and shibudim. Since those candlesticks were not around, were not even spoken about, and Rashi says when he borrowed the money a month ago, there was no candlesticks around, not in his possession. He didn't steal them yet. And the Gemach people expected what? Cash. We even have it on the star. We give you 6,000 cash, give us back 6,000 cash. The candlesticks were all surprised. You people did not rely on my candlesticks. Therefore, I'll retrieve them back from you, and you will not get anything back from me. When a person buys candlesticks from the store, he highly, highly, highly assumes they are owned by the store owner. He does know that they're stolen. So the picture you had in your mind, shibud-wise, financial-wise, we don't want to break that. But here for you guys, it was also a surprise he came with candlesticks. Oh, candlesticks? Okay, the guy's so poor, he'll get candlesticks instead of money. But it was not the original plan. Therefore, I, the real candlesticks owner, I don't owe you anything. Next case, question will be welcome. In 2 minutes, you can ask everything you want about God and life and Bava Kama. Now, I'm sorry, I'll promise you'll listen to your questions. Now, next case, mashkanta shovi masan b'meo. Let's say there's a not mashkanta, there's a mashkan, a collateral. A guy borrowed 100 shekels, $100, 100 whatever, and collateralized lechatchila. Legally, there was a plan, it was agreed upon. You get 100 shekel from me, and I want as a collateral your 200 shekel item, candlesticks, very cheap candlesticks, 200, and that was planned to begin with, So then, Mosan Demea, Asuba Takanas HaShuk, there is Takanas HaShuk. Why? Let's say those candlesticks, the 200 shekels, are stolen because the original agreement of the loan did include those candlesticks. He stole the candlesticks before he borrowed, and they were on the table. I'm so strapped for cash for, let's say, 1,000. Well, give me 1,000. I have to. And look, I have candlesticks worth 2,000. Worst comes to worst, I don't give you 1,000. You can take the 2,000 candlesticks, and in order to avoid ribis, I'll pay you back, or take one. We'll manage. But lemaise, we built on those candlesticks. We relied on the candlesticks, the malve. Then we do say Takanas HaShuk. If there's a knock on the door and somebody says, hey, there's a mine candlestick, says the victim, then he has the right to take the candlesticks, but he will pay the malva back 200 or 2,000 the worth, because the malva did rely on it. We don't want to pull the rug under people's feet in Takanas HaShuk to ruin the original plan that we relied on, either by mechira or by halva. One more line and that's it. Now, shove b'shove. Let's say he borrowed 2,000 shekels for collateral that's 2,000 shekels. That's not accepted. You know why? Usually collaterals are worth more than the loan because we want to scare the guy off. We want to pressurize him to pay. You're to pay 1,000? Oh, you're 2,000 are at risk. Don't ask me about ribis, I don't know, but we want to, so shove b'shove, 1,000 loan for 1,000 worth item is not a normal way. It's like a funny way of working things. It's not normal shuk behavior. He's not behaving like a normal person in the shuk. Therefore, it's a machloikis. No, not Takanas HaShuk, because you're not behaving normally. In other words, you didn't rely on that anyways. Yenia wanted the cash because such a collateral is an ebecher collateral. Malzutra also with Takanas HaShuk. Malzutra says, yes, at the end of the day, I relied on those candlesticks, maybe in a funny way. But I relied on the item. Now you're snatching away from me, pay me back. We're behind. Okay, we are bidiyuk here by the round brackets. We're in the parentheses, so it's a good place to stop. And tomorrow, in Mirz Hashem, we'll continue. Okay, questions are very, very welcome now for the next 15 minutes. Enjoy your freedom, and here's a chart. And thank you very much. Yes, I'm listening.